Welcome to this Crossings conversation. I'm John Franklin, your host. Today, our topic is pilgrimage, and it has a long and distinguished history. And Crossings is, in a way, going to be a modern version of pilgrimage. I'm very pleased today to have as our guest Rob Fennell. And Rob Fennell is the Academic Dean and Associate Professor of History and Systematic Theology at Atlantic School of Theology. He is the founding director of Camino Nova Scotia. He's also an ordained minister of the United Church of Canada. His most recent book has a long title, so let me read it. 31 Short Spiritual Practices, Getting Restarted in a Daily Spirituality of Gratitude and Contentment. I'm going to have to get a copy of that, Rob. Welcome, Rob. And very pleased to have you, and very pleased to be taking up this topic. As you know, the context for this conversation is the project that Imago is doing here in Toronto called Crossings. And it's linked with the scriptural Stations of the Cross. And what we're doing, of course, is putting artwork in various locations in the city. It's a pilgrimage that can be done probably in 5 hours. Fairly readily. And so they're not too far apart. But I wonder if you have any comment about what, or even suggestion for us. We're placing artworks inspired by the passion narrative of Jesus. And we're doing this in an urban setting and inviting people to come and walk to see these artworks. And our interest is not just that they would look at the story, but that they would look at the story in a fresh way and perhaps see what its implications are for them and for us who live in the kind of, what shall I say, broken world that we do. So do you have anything that you might say about pilgrimage in an urban setting like that we're seeking to do?
Yeah, I think Crossings is a really inspired project. I think you're really onto something really worthwhile, and it will be really intriguing to see how people respond to it. I would encourage you to think about it as a micro pilgrimage, like use the language of pilgrimage. Again, I'm pretty open-ended about what a pilgrimage is and can be. Sure. It isn't about the location or the length so it can be pretty open-ended to what we think about as a pilgrimage. And likewise, I think one of the things Crossings kind of points towards is an understanding that spiritual experiences that we might have aren't or shouldn't be something that's reserved for holy people or for special people or someone who's got everything figured out somehow. Like, spiritual experiences are for everybody, ordinary people, regular people, as I like to call them, people. And nor is it necessarily about special places or holy places. Our spirituality can be expressed in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places. So there's an infinitely kind of accessible dynamic to what you've got planned, especially in terms of art, because the art always invites transcendence. Art always invites us to see through it, so to speak, even while we're looking at it. It's kind of a portal or a gateway or a doorway into I would say the depth of the human heart, into the depth of human experience. We see one expression in a given painting, or maybe there's a real tableau of things going on and we can see all kinds of experiences, but we don't need to stop at the flatness of the image. We can, in a sense, look through it and see through it. Or again, looking at the story of Jesus or contemplating the story of Jesus is a way to reflect on our own journey. I wouldn't really necessarily want us to come to any particular theological conclusions about that or specific religious conclusions. It's more like contemplation, reflection, patient waiting and thinking about something, and also letting that kind of mirror back to ourselves and say, I've walked a little, I've looked at something, what's going on in me spiritually or emotionally in this moment. Then I'll walk a little bit more to the next station. And the walking itself is kind of an embodiment of the reflection. The physical movement lets us, in a sense, digest what we've seen and prepare for the next thing. But as I say in a little book I'm writing about pilgrimage right now, the walk isn't the purpose of the walk. The walk is like the occasion
Good.
for the spiritual reflection. The walk is the opportunity or the container for it. And I would just encourage anybody who's participating in crossings to really soak it up, just soak up the experience. Don't come up with a grand theory about it all. Don't come with an expectation of what it has to be. Just soak yourself in the experience and see what happens. Maybe you'll see it and feel it right away. Maybe it'll happen later on.
Well, Rob, I want to thank you. Thank you for sharing with us some of your experience and what I see to be very rich insights about this topic of pilgrimage. I'm very grateful to you, and you noted, and I was going to note that you're working on a book on pilgrimage. So I would say to all those who are listening in, keep an eye open for Rob Fennell. So thank you again for your time. And I appreciate you joining with us, and I wish you every blessing in your good work.